have a very, very tender spot for this movie. It's very hard to look like you're having a fun time when you're like,
Even after 37 years, Dirty Dancing still refuses to let go. This iconic 1987 film launched Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey into superstardom. But what most people don't know is that it was almost never released. That's right, one of the most beloved romance movies of the 80s nearly got tossed in the trash. And the reasons are downright shocking. Let's dive into the juicy details behind the movie's hidden battles, unseen moments, and near-fatal mistakes that almost robbed us of a classic. Every blockbuster has its battles behind the scenes, and Dirty Dancing was no exception. Believe it or not, even the title caused serious drama. Remember Pretty Woman? That movie almost hit theaters as $3,000. Crazy, right? But long before Richard Gere and Julia Roberts took the spotlight, it was Swayze and Grey who were shaking things up with Dirty Dancing. Back in the late 80s, anything even slightly scandalous, like nudity or a naughty title, caused major panic. So producers were super cautious. But they didn't realize the name Dirty Dancing would stir up this much trouble. At first, people thought it was something much more inappropriate. Censorship boards were hesitant. In fact, things got so intense that Canadian border agents held up the film's footage. Why? Because they thought it was an adult movie. Eleanor Bergstein, the screenwriter, revealed that border officers thought the movie was an X-rated film. Can you believe that? But despite the confusion, the studio stood its ground. They wanted Dirty Dancing, and they got it. Patrick Swayze, on the other hand, he hated the title. In a 1987 interview, he didn't hold back. He said he absolutely hated the name and wished they'd called it something else. Still, the studio refused to budge. The actors had to promote a title they didn't even like. But here's the kicker. The backup title was I Was a Teenage Mambo Queen. No joke. Imagine that on a poster. Thankfully, they stuck with Dirty Dancing, even if it was scandalous. But the title drama wasn't the only threat this movie faced. A cast that almost wasn't. Casting is everything. And in Dirty Dancing, it almost went in a totally different direction. Johnny Castle, the mysterious, smooth-talking dance instructor, was nearly played by someone else. And we're not just talking about anyone. Before Swayze locked it down, names like Billy Zane, Val Kilmer, and Benicio del Toro were floating around. Can you imagine one of them in that iconic role? Billy Zane even got the part. But once filming started, the chemistry between him and Jennifer Grey just wasn't there. So the producers dropped him. Patrick Swayze had something special. He trained at top ballet schools, and he had the moves and the acting chops. That's what the director wanted. Real dancers who could act. No stand-ins. But Swayze had his own hurdles. It wasn't a smooth ride getting cast. Jennifer Grey also wasn't the first choice for Baby. Sarah Jessica Parker and Winona Ryder both auditioned. But Jennifer won the part. And get this, she only got paid $50,000 for it. Even though she had worked with Patrick before in Red Dawn, she was terrified to dance with him. In a 2016 interview, she opened up about how scary it was. She said Patrick was fearless, and she was the total opposite. Her words. His fearlessness combined with my fearfulness, like his lack of Jewishness and my super Jewishness, created a dynamic that was almost like a marriage of opposites. He'd do anything, and I'd be scared to do anything. That tension, it was real. Off camera, the two clashed a lot. Their acting styles were different. Their personalities, even more so. Patrick talked about it in his 2009 autobiography, The Time of My Life. He said Jennifer could be super emotional, crying if someone criticized her. Other times, she'd break into laughter during scenes, forcing retakes. The filmmakers had to work hard to keep the chemistry on screen, even when things behind the scenes were tense. But what happened next was even more surprising. That very tension, the push and pull between Swayze's cool confidence and Grey's nervous energy, worked. It brought their characters to life in a way no one expected. The result? Magic. Audiences fell in love. The chemistry was electric. And suddenly, Dirty Dancing exploded into a massive hit. Patrick became a heartthrob overnight. Jennifer's role as Baby became legendary. Looking back, it almost feels like destiny. The right actors, the right tension, the right time. Because now, fans can't imagine anyone else playing those roles. And it all started with a scandalous title, some serious behind-the-scenes drama, and two actors who didn't always get along. Unscripted moments that changed everything. Dirty Dancing is one of those rare movies that sticks with you. From the first beat to the final lift, it leaves you smiling. But behind the scenes, it was anything but dreamy. We already know Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey didn't get along at first. But that tension actually gave us some of the most unforgettable scenes in the movie, ones that weren't even in the script. Take the famous moment when Johnny runs his fingers down Baby's arm and she bursts out laughing. It looks sweet and playful. But guess what? That whole scene was a complete accident. Jennifer Grey wasn't acting. She was genuinely ticklish and couldn't stop laughing. And Patrick? He wasn't amused. He was actually annoyed. The director ended up using that take by accident. They had forgotten it even existed until the editor found it during post-production. Everyone laughed so hard watching it back. They knew it had to be in the film. And just like that, one of the most beloved scenes was born totally unplanned. Another iconic scene? Johnny and Baby goofing around to Love is Strange by Mickey and Sylvia. That wasn't scripted either. The cameras were secretly rolling while the two were rehearsing, and their chemistry was so real, it ended up in the final cut. It was raw, playful, and honest, and the audience loved it. But as fun as those moments looked, filming the movie was tough, really tough. Let's talk about that legendary lake lift. You know the one. It looks magical. But in real life, it was brutal. Filming started in September 1986 and wrapped in just 43 days. The team had to work fast, and the conditions were extreme. Outside, it was boiling, up to 105 degrees Fahrenheit. But inside the set, thanks to the lights and equipment, it reached a dangerous 120 degrees Fahrenheit. People were fainting, literally. Choreographer Kenny Ortega said 10 crew members passed out in just 25 minutes. Even veteran actress Paula Truman collapsed from dehydration and had to be rushed to the hospital. Patrick wasn't spared either. While doing the balancing scene on log, he kept falling off. It messed up his knee so badly, doctors had to drain the swelling. And still, he kept going. Jennifer Grey later wrote in her memoir that they saved the lake lift for the final scene because they knew it had to be perfect. Despite everything, they nailed it. She said, "What you see between us in that scene was also real. Real gratitude, real respect, real care. If that's not love, what is?" That one scene captured everything. The pain, the struggle, and the magic. Now here's something most fans don't know. All those sunny summer scenes, they were actually filmed in the fall. That's right, Dirty Dancing summer vibes were totally fake. The production got delayed, so the cast and crew had to make autumn look like July. The leaves were painted green. The grass was touched up to look fresh. But the lake? Nothing could hide how cold it really was. The famous lake scene was filmed in October, when the water had dropped to a freezing 40 degrees Fahrenheit. Jennifer Grey described it as horrifically cold. Patrick Swayze said it felt hypothermic. And they didn't just film it once. They had to do it over and over. Despite Patrick's dance background, the physical demands nearly broke him. His body was pushed to the limit. But you'd never know it by watching him glide across the screen. That's the magic of movies and Patrick's pure dedication. Patrick and Jennifer didn't always get along. In fact, early on, there were real chemistry problems. But somehow, their shared struggles on the set, in the freezing water, under the blistering lights, pulled them together. And the result? A film that feels just as powerful today as it did in 1987. The laughs, the lifts, the love. It all came from a place of real pain, real effort, and real passion. Would Dirty Dancing still be a classic if they had cast different actors? No way, because it wasn't just acting. It was real, and that's what made it unforgettable. Chemistry issues behind the scenes. On screen, Patrick Swayze and Jennifer Grey looked like the perfect pair. The chemistry? Electric. But off screen, it was a whole different story. Most people don't know this, But Dirty Dancing wasn't their first film together. They actually worked together in the 1984 movie Red Dawn. And that's where the problem started. Sources close to the actors at the time said that tension started way back then. In fact, those early issues made producers nervous about casting them together again. Why? Because Patrick and Jennifer were total opposites. He was bold and fearless. She was careful and nervous. He liked to power through scenes. She'd stop, cry, or giggle when things got tough. Patrick even wrote in his autobiography that long days on set often ended in tension. Sometimes, he'd criticize Jennifer, and she'd burst into tears. Other times, she'd laugh during serious takes, and they'd have to redo entire scenes. Their clashing styles drove everyone crazy, but somehow it worked. Director Kenny Ortega once said, "They were like human fireworks. Conflict, love, magic, every day. It was unpredictable, but it created something unforgettable." So why were they cast together despite all that drama? Simple. Their chemistry test blew everyone away. And to help them reconnect, producers made them rewatch that test before filming began. It worked like a charm. Even years later, Jennifer admitted their relationship was tense. In one interview, she said, "His fearlessness and my fearfulness, it was like a marriage of opposites." They didn't get along, but they did create movie history. Jennifer's nose job, the surgery that changed everything. Jennifer Grey was on top of the world. In 1986, she lit up the screen as Jeannie in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. A year later, she played Baby in Dirty Dancing, delivering one of the most iconic lines in film history. Nobody puts baby in a corner. But just before Dirty Dancing hit theaters, tragedy struck. Jennifer and her boyfriend, Matthew Broderick, were in a horrific car crash. 2 people died. Matthew was badly hurt. And Jennifer was never the same. Still, she pushed on. But in the early 90s, she made a decision that would haunt her forever. She got a nose job. She thought it would help her career. Instead, it nearly destroyed it. The surgery went wrong. Then she had to get a second one to fix it. But when it was all over, she looked so different. Even her closest friends didn't recognize her. Jennifer later said it felt like she survived a terrible accident. She was prettier in a generic way, but she lost what made her her. Hollywood didn't know what to do with the new Jennifer, and neither did she. She even thought about changing her name and starting over. But in the end, she faced the fallout head-on. In her memoir, Out of the Corner, she tells the whole story, how she went from the top of the world to a total identity crisis. Fans were shocked. Many said she looked boring now, just another face in Hollywood. The nose job, meant to help her stand out, made her disappear. But Jennifer, she's not hiding anymore. She's owned her choices and moved forward. Her face changed, but her spirit didn't. How Dirty Dancing almost didn't happen. It's hard to believe now, but Dirty Dancing almost never made it to theaters. The budget? Just $6 million. The script? Rejected 43 times. Most studios didn't want it. They thought it was too small, too strange, too risky. But one tiny studio, Vestron, took a chance. In 2012, producer Linda Gottlieb revealed just how close the movie came to being scrapped. It was a miracle it even got finished. And yet, Dirty Dancing went on to become one of the most beloved movies of all time. It launched 2 young actors into superstardom. It gave us unforgettable music, unforgettable dance scenes, and a line we'll never forget. But behind that magic was a storm of drama, doubt, and heartbreak. And somehow it all worked. They told them to burn the negative. They said it was junk. No one believed it would work. But Dirty Dancing shocked the world, and now, decades later, Baby is coming back, without Johnny. The disaster nobody saw coming. Filming wrapped on October 27th, 1986. On time. On budget. That should have been a win, right? Wrong. When the first rough cut was shown, people were horrified. Not because the film was powerful, but because they thought it was awful. Even executives at Vestron Pictures were freaking out. One producer, Aaron Russo, reportedly told them to burn the negative and collect the insurance. Yes, it was that bad. One major issue? Viewers didn't even realize abortion was a central plot line. Over a third completely missed it. And if that wasn't enough, a deal with Clearasil, yes, the acne cream company, fell apart. Why? They wanted the abortion storyline gone. The producers said no. Clearasil walked away. No sponsors. No faith. No future. The studio was so unsure about the movie that they only planned to release in theaters for one weekend before shoving it onto home video shows. But what happened next? No one saw it coming. The unstoppable surprise hit. Despite all the chaos, Dirty Dancing exploded. It made over $214 million worldwide, off a budget of just $6 million. And it won an Oscar. I've Had the Time of My Life became a global anthem. Critics who once laughed now praised it. Fans couldn't stop talking about it. Eleanor Bergstein, the screenwriter, recalled how everyone called it junk. Burn the negative. They said, instead, they'd build a legend. Today, Dirty Dancing isn't just a movie. It's a cultural monument. A coming-of-age tale wrapped in sweat, tears, and unforgettable dance moves. So, with all that success, people kept asking, where's the sequel? Well, it's finally happening. In 2020, news confirmed that Jennifer Grey, yes, baby herself, is producing and starring in a brand new Dirty Dancing movie. She told the Los Angeles Times she's bringing baby back, but now it's the 1990s. Unfortunately, the SAG-AFTRA strike delayed everything. The movie was supposed to drop in 2024. Now, it's been pushed to summer 2025. Lionsgate wants it to be a tribute to Patrick Swayze. No recasting. No replacement. They even negotiated with his estate to include Johnny's memory in the story. But Patrick's widow, Lisa Nemi Swayze, isn't convinced. She said Patrick always felt the original ending was perfect, and he turned down sequel ideas while he was alive. And the internet? It's divided. Some say a sequel ruins the magic. Others are desperate to see Baby dance again. Here's something most people never knew. Patrick Swayze almost didn't take the role. Why? Because of his knee. Years earlier, during his Broadway days, he suffered a devastating injury. His resume even had a note, no dancing. But then came Dirty Dancing. Behind the smiles and iconic moves, Patrick was in constant pain. His bones were grinding together. The lake scene? Sure, it looked fun, but Patrick said lifting someone in water felt like hoisting 500 pounds. Even simple choreography left his knee so swollen it had to be drained. His injury started when he was a teenage football star. Then, a staph infection nearly cost him his leg. Doctors warned. If it spread, they'd have to amputate. He barely survived. But Patrick pushed through, dancing through agony to bring Johnny Castle to life. No one watching could see his pain, and that's what made him a legend. Dirty Dancing could have been a flop. It could have disappeared into bargain bins. Instead, it became eternal. From near cancellation and studio panic to box office glory, the movie proved something powerful, that the heart, soul, and sweat of a few passionate people can create magic. Now, decades later, we wait to see if the new movie will live up to the legend. Can they capture lightning twice? Or should some dances stay in the past? Time will tell. But one thing is certain. Nobody puts Baby in a corner. Did you know about Patrick's knee injury? Or that Clearasil almost destroyed the movie? Drop your favorite Dirty Dancing moment in the comments. And if we missed any behind-the-scenes secrets, let us know. Hit like, subscribe, and don't forget, click the video on your screen now for more shocking stories from Hollywood's golden age.